It is very much feeling like winter here on the south coast of New South Wales, although it kind of doesn't really seem like it. It is like blue sky today and actually a very beautiful day, but that's kind of what winters are like here. I came out for a morning walk this morning, which was beautiful and nice and fresh. I was hoping to see some frost on the ground, but we didn't have any this morning, unfortunately. I absolutely love winter and love frost and love snow, so it's always beautiful to see that when we do have some in the garden. However, it was just a very chilly morning. I think we're getting down to about like 4 degrees overnight now, which is nice and chilly, nice and fresh, and is a great opportunity to just be nice and cozy inside. But I thought this week I would share just some gardening that I got up to in the garden. I am taking it very slow, so I'm just doing jobs here and there, but I thought I would kind of just put together a little montage of everything that I got done. I still do have quite a little bit to work on today that you'll see later in the video, but I wanted to do a bit of an introduction here just to say hello. Thank you to all of the new subscribers that have come over here. If you are new here, my name is Robyn and I live here on the south coast of New South Wales, Australia, with my partner and our 2 cats and our now 7-month-old baby boy, and try and grow as much as we can in our garden here. So I really hope you enjoy today's video of seeing what we got up to in the garden this week. Like always, I would love to know what's happening in your garden right now. So please do leave a comment down below. And like always, if you do enjoy my content, any interaction with my content is always very much appreciated and really helps me to get the videos out there and just helps me all round to continue making more content here. So I really hope you enjoy today's video. So one of the main things that I've been doing this week in the garden is just working down here where I used to have my little flower farm area, and just kind of prepping an area to plant some potatoes and also creating some no-dig beds in this space. I am very significantly reducing my growing space at the moment, just to make things a little bit more manageable for me. I just find it very overwhelming to have such a big garden right now when I am not working full-time as a flower farmer or even part-time really. My full-time job is a mum right now, and yeah, that's just how things are. I really do miss the garden though, and did want to kind of have some area of growing space. Now that Grayson's a little bit older, I am finding it a little bit more, or not easier, but just more manageable to come out and do a little bit of gardening here and there. And he's almost at the age where I can kind of bring him down and he can amuse himself with some toys while I get a few jobs done. And I wanted to make the most of this space, and we are also trying to save money this year and cut the cost of our groceries. So I'm trying to grow things that we use a lot of, things that are generally fairly high calorie and also just really delicious. So potatoes were a no-brainer for this space. I've grown potatoes in many ways before. This was just the easiest to get some of these potatoes in the ground. These were leftovers from when I harvested some quite a few months ago, and I didn't get around to eating them all. A lot of these were quite small as well, so I just very heavily planted these in a trench, and I am going to backfill this, and then I will gradually mound up soil onto these potatoes as they grow to kind of have an in-ground method of growing potatoes. This works really well in our climate. I do just have to make sure that the area doesn't get too waterlogged though. However, because this is at the top of the garden, I'm hoping that the water will drain quite easily. So that was the first job that I got done. I had some tomatoes and herbs and lettuce and lots of spring onion planted in this little section. It's very overrun with ground covers at the moment, so I'm just taking out all of the spring onions first before I turn these into much more manageable garden beds. I've said a few times, but spring onions again is something that we grow a lot of because we eat a lot of them and they add so much flavour to our dishes. And I find we do definitely save a bit of money if we grow our own because we're pretty much using them in most of the meals that we make. So once I harvested those, I am just placing cardboard over this area. This is definitely the worst area of the garden and I just want to start afresh with this area. So there's a few different ways to do no-dig gardening and I have tried multiple different methods. I really like this method because I don't want to say it's lazy, but it is definitely an easier method to dealing with weeds where you just put cardboard right over the top of them and then soil on top of the cardboard and then plant it to that. This does take quite a bit of compost and material, I find. You can do this the other way by just placing some compost directly on top of the vegetation or weeds or whatever you're trying to cover, then cardboard on top of that, and then mulch and plant kind of more into the soil. I'm going to do this with the bed next to this one, but for this one I just wanted to get the cardboard on the ground. I had some soil, so I'm just filling that in on top of the cardboard here. My camera died that day, however I did manage to semi-finish that, and then I have also been working on clearing out all of those straw flowers, and I'm going to create some more no-dig beds in this area, but yeah, I will revisit this later in the video as well to share what it looks like now. So I have about until Thursday to kind of like clear this area behind me before we have some people who come and help out with mowing. So this week I have a lot of work to do to get done. I really want to continue with these no-dig beds here. Hopefully I can get another one here similar to this one. I need to go and empty one of the compost bays and see how much compost we have in there, because this is just a little bit too thin of a compost layer. I want a little bit more growing medium so that I can grow some veggies in this area. Before we revisit that area of the garden, I thought I would share just a few things that are going on in the cottage garden. This is up near the house where I grow a lot of veggies and herbs and flowers. I have been pruning some of the roses to just prep them for spring when they start to grow back again. I've also just been mulching different areas. We've had lots of calendula coming up. The broad beans are starting to flower now, which is great to see, and they are growing so fast now. They're looking very healthy in this area. And I have just been loving coming out here, enjoying the beautiful winter light. I'm still holding on to the hydrangea at the back. I will have to give that a nice trim, but I just love the structure of it right now. And this is such a peaceful garden for me to just have a stroll every single day, bring my warm drink out there, and Grayson and I do a garden walk every day. So he loves being out there as well and seeing all of the colours and all of the bees that are still around. And of course we have been enjoying all of the beautiful sunsets of winter. It truly is my favourite time of the year. All of the colours, everything's a lot more quiet and peaceful. The cats are really snuggly as well. And yeah, I've just been really loving this time to definitely slow down a little bit, which I really have been needing. I try and choose just very manageable garden jobs to do here and there when Grayson's having a nap, and sometimes this looks like just selecting a few packets of seeds and sowing some seeds. So today, on this day, I chose some lettuce and some more spring onions to plant, just to kind of have a trickle of seedlings that are growing, and I can slowly plant them out into different spots in the garden. So I usually go for some kind of cos or little gem lettuce, as well as the all year lettuce are my two favorites, and evergreen bunching onions. I have been just planting these in succession to always have some in the garden because, like I said, we use them so much, and yeah, I just really love growing them in the garden because you can really just fit them in anywhere that you have space. Same with lettuce as well. It's a really great crop to just fit in where you can. They grow in part shade, so it's a great time if you don't get really harsh frosts to plant some greens in the garden. I definitely oversow my seedling trays, but then I just prick them out and it all works out eventually. These seeds were quite old as well, so yeah, I'm just oversowing a little bit. It all works out in the end. I've also just been really appreciating everything that's growing in this garden. It truly does help my mental health a lot to come out here. I know I say that a lot, but it is true. And I am just so thankful that I do have a space like this where I can enjoy all of the beautiful flowers and a lot of the perennials, like this beautiful rhubarb that has come back, and a lot of the bulbs that I've been planting, like all of those jonquils along the sides of the pathways are all popping up, and we're also still getting random tomatoes around, and I am hoping that we're going to have a really great show of Renunculus. These are the ones that I planted in a previous video. You can see they're looking a little yellow, so I am making sure to give these a feed. I use this, which is Charlie Carp. It's a great all-purpose fertilizer, and it is nice and high in nitrogen, so it's going to give those plants a bit of a boost, which they seem like they need right now. It could also be because we've been getting quite low temperatures at night, so the plants might just be a little bit slow at the moment. So this is just going to help them out with their root development to make sure that everything kind of stays growing. And then when spring comes, when the weather starts to warm up, that's when I assume I will see a little bit more growth. That's usually what happens with the Renunculus. So I'm really excited for that, to see a gorgeous display of colour. And I've also just been enjoying all of the harvests from this cottage garden. I am picking some red mizuna here. I have some chard or silver beet. Both of these I actually didn't plant. They came up by themselves, where a lot of plants in my garden just self-seed because I use homemade compost, and I really just let things grow where they want, and usually I get a really great harvest. Because the seeds that germinate are obviously the strongest, and I think they have adjusted to our climate a little bit more. I've also been picking some nasturtium leaves, and I usually just go out with a basket and just pick a random assortment of greens, and I like to fry this up as a side with my dinners. I've also been enjoying the herbs in the garden. I have quite a few herbs that I grow, including this beautiful rosemary that I'm going to add into a stew that I will show you very shortly. But this was today's harvest of some greens, some parsley, some rosemary, nasturtium leaves, and I just fried that all up and added some onion and garlic powder, and that is what we had as a side with our dinner. And I've also been making some stews. This is my absolute favorite recipe. I will leave it linked down below. We don't really eat a lot of meat in our family except a bit of fish here and there. So this veggie stew, it reminds me of like the beef stew that you typically have in winter. Firstly, you make this veggie roux and fry that up with some mushrooms. Really nice to get all of the liquid out of that, so you kind of start to get that flavor on the bottom of the pan. Deglaze that with some red wine, and that is just packed full of flavor. This is where all of that meaty flavor is. Then I add lots of veggies, lots of local veggies and potatoes that we grew in the garden, with some stock and crushed tomato. And you basically just cook that on a simmer I usually do it for about 2 hours or so on a low heat, just to make sure everything cooks down nicely. And I would really recommend this recipe if you're into nice hearty dinners. Me being me, I didn't get a shot of the end of it, though it was absolutely delicious and I would highly recommend it. So please do check the recipe out down below. Right, it is a few days later now and I have pretty much cleared it all, so I will share with you what this area looks like and the plans going forward. Baby on the back today because he's very clingy with teething and it's very sad, so we're doing lots of cuddles today. So I've pretty much cleared everything out that I want, all of basically from here down. We're just going to turn back to grass for now, so this will all be mowed. There's some really good soil though in these kind of 2 beds here, so I'm thinking of digging some of that up and then moving that up to these beds. I'm basically going to have 3 beds here, and I'm basically just going to be planting, I think, just some sunflowers in terms of flowers, and veggies is what we're going to grow in here. So I've just got some tarps down to suppress some grass and the weeds, and then I cleared all of this area. I had some dahlias down the back that I have dug up, and I just posted on Instagram if anyone wanted to come and pick those up. So I have someone coming to pick those up this week. And I've also been working on that no-dig bed up the top. So I need to source some more compost, hopefully from our compost pile down the back of the property, and then I can cover this with some mulch. I have all the potatoes planted down the end of this bed here. A few that didn't make it that I might plant elsewhere if I get time. I have just added some bandicoot proof material here just so the potatoes don't get all dug up. So that is what that mess is. And this is kind of what this area of the garden is looking like right now. I think for the rest of the week, if I can finish doing that compost bay, that will be great. And maybe finish this no-dig bed behind me. That will also be good for the jobs to get done this week. But other than that, I am just taking care of this little one who is just a little unhappy right now with a lot of teething pain. So hello. So coming back to these garden beds that I was working on, I had some leftover soil from some potato pots that I was growing potatoes in. So I decided to use those on this next bed over. I originally was just going to add this onto the ground, as I was saying before, and then add the cardboard over that. I'm going to do that with the rest of these garden beds, but for this one I just wanted to get the ground covered and to have the garden bed in place so that I can add some leaves and mulch onto it that you'll see later and let that kind of decompose a little bit. I also had these garden beds beds down here. I'm just a little bit below where I was filming before, and this is where I had some flowers planted. I have really heavily amended this soil with lots of horse manure, homemade compost, and as you can kind of see the color of it, it is absolutely packed full of nutrients. So I just added one more garden cart of that on top of the cardboard just to give the soil a little bit of a boost. There was lots of worms in this soil, and like I said, it was just really great nutrients. I decided to do only just one garden cart because I don't really want to make more work for myself than I need to, and I think that's going to be enough just to kind of add that nutrients into the soil and to weigh the cardboard down enough so that it doesn't blow away, and I can kind of have my beds a bit more defined in this area. So I am just adding another garden cart onto the top bed here and spreading that out, making sure that all of the garden bed gets at least some of this. When it rains and when I water this, it'll naturally kind of disperse and settle so that it'll kind of cover the bed a little bit better. And after that, I wanted to try something that I've never tried before, and that is chaos gardening. I've seen a lot of people do this garden method of sowing seeds, and to be honest, I am just so sick of all of the seed packets that I have pretty much in every single room of the house. I don't know how I end up with seed packets all around the house. I think because I get so excited, I rummage through my seed drawers and then pull them out thinking I'm going to get them planted that day. I never do. And then I just have a bit of a mess around the house. So I went around and chose lots of root vegetables like radish, turnip. I have some beetroot in this mix, and predominantly most of these seed packets are actually expired. So I don't even know if the seeds are going to germinate, but I decided to just mix them all up into a jar and then just sprinkle them on this top bed here and see what happens. I will do some updates to share how this goes. Like I said, I've never done this before. It's not really, it might not be the most productive way to grow veggies, but with all of the seed packets that I have, I'm just so sick of, just organizing them all and looking at the back of the packet and realizing that they're a year old and expired. So I'm going to try this method by just sprinkling them on and then kind of just settling them in a little bit with a rake here, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully we get some good crops of radishes, rocket, greens. We'll see what happens, and if not, then we'll just get a nice good green manure and it will just add to the soil over time eventually. I am just going to be adding a really light sprinkle of sugarcane mulch on top of those seeds, and that's just to make sure that they are weighted down by something. And then once I water them in and it rains, they'll kind of just naturally find a little hole in the soil to kind of settle, and then hopefully they will germinate. So like I said, I will keep you updated. Let me know if you have tried chaos gardening before. I'm pretty intrigued to see what we can get, and if this method works, then I might actually just use it for some of the other garden beds and see what we can grow in terms of flowers as well. For the other bed, I don't quite have anything to plant in there right now, so I just went down to the back of the garden where we have a pear tree, and we never really get any pears off it. All of the birds tend to eat them, but I do always collect the leaves that fall from this tree, and I'm just going to be placing those on top of the bed. They'll gradually break down over time, protect the soil, and just add more goodness into the soil. I absolutely love the smell of leaves, deciduous trees. We just really don't have a lot of them in Australia and around where we live, but I always love this job of collecting leaves and adding them to the garden to just add back into the soil. Right, so I think I am going to leave it here for today's video. This was the finished product. A few beds done, potatoes planted, things harvested from the cottage garden. I am pretty happy with what I got done in the garden this week. It didn't feel overwhelming, all of the garden jobs, and I just want to really keep it nice and simple and slow down over winter, and I think I did that this week in the garden. I did mention that I was going to empty the compost bay, and I will be doing that. I might even just make that into a separate video just to share what it looks like, because it is a very lazy composting technique where I've literally just piled everything onto a pile, let it break down, and I'm very intrigued to see what it looks like and how much compost we actually get from that pile. So I will make sure to include that in a future video. I am just all out of time today, and I really want to wrap this video up and get it edited so that I can upload it. I really hope you enjoyed seeing what I got up to in the garden this week. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe for lots more garden videos coming your way. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you're all having a lovely day wherever you are in the world, and until my next one, happy gardening everyone.